Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a video, kind of video I haven't done in quite some time, which is a response to a subs contest. This is Andrew Tales from the Crate, his 1,000 subscribers contest. He actually posted a video, I think about a week or so ago, something like that, and I had done a response to it and didn't have a chance to upload it from my phone, and then took a couple of days, and I thought, well, I'll probably just redo it anyway. So I just thought, I'll just shoot another quick video and do it on my iPad here. It's a little easier to upload that way. So, yeah, man, just want to say congratulations on the 1,000 subs. I think I've been a subscriber of yours for a few months now. Been kind of catching up on your videos. We haven't spoken a lot individually, but I've definitely been checking out your videos and totally dig your taste in music. Love your collection and the whole nine. So uh, I saw your response, and as I was kind of watching it, I had my wheels turning about, like how would I answer that or what would I pull. Then I saw a couple other people that had done responses too, so just wanted to kind of take a quick minute to jump on board and do a response to it. So again, congratulations on the 1,000 subs. And this was actually another one of those nice kind of simple questions. I think this was called the Broad Strokes was the name of his contest. And simply put, it was just kind of a, show me the eclectic nature of your kind of collection, musical taste, just random things from different genres and stuff like that. Um, those of you that have known me long in the VC kind of know I'm very genre specific in terms of how I store my collection and stuff like that. I tend to kind of really nitpick about what genre something goes into. Um, and sometimes people agree with where I put it, sometimes they don't. It's just kind of, how you feel and how you take in the music, which is kind of the beauty of each individual collection. So I just kind of went through each genre that I have labeled out in my collection and just pulled one record from that to, kind of somewhat represent that. So I'm just going to kind of randomly go through, and I will, share what genre it came from and not go into a ton of detail about each record, but again, just kind of showing some of the different styles of music that I like and stuff like that. So let's jump right into the Broad Strokes contest. We'll start with out of my jazz collection. So I just kind of, again, randomly picked something. I went with one of my favorite jazz artists, which is Ornette Coleman. This is Something Else. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him. I mean, he's a total legend in the jazz world. So that's a fantastic album. Favorite album by him is probably Twins. I think that's one that I really like a lot. Out of the 60s and 70s collection, or actually 60s I should say. Out of my 60s category, I pulled Chuck Berry, the Great 38. Of course, everybody knows Chuck and the guy that he is in the rock and roll world. Out of my 70s collection, we're going to represent that with the Allman Brothers. Again, it's Brothers and Sisters, another very common album. I'm sure, pretty much everyone kind of knows. Then we go to 90s. So this is just kind of regular 90s rock, 90s, 2000s kind of rock music. All right. And for that, I chose The Fray. This is How to Save a Life. Really cool album too. I mean, this is one that it's not like, this is the band I would run out to see live if they came to town or anything, but this is definitely an album that I like throwing on and kind of listening to as background music when I'm doing something. But I do it quite a bit, so it's an album that I really, really enjoy. So, there is some really good stuff on here. I think of, definitely probably the biggest hit off of here was Over My Head. The Cable Car was a huge hit. But I know there's a lot of other songs on here that are pretty darn good that I really like. So yeah, just a good representation of kind of some of the 90s, 2000s stuff. Out of the psychedelic section, prog and psych section, I think that's well represented by the Seeds. Again, I'm sure a lot of you already know this album. Really, really cool stuff. If you are not familiar with this album, again, a lot of great stuff on it. My favorite song off of it is a Pushin' Too Hard. It's actually the first song that brought me to the Seeds. So that's kind of nice too. And maybe I'll mention that too, maybe kind of the one or two songs that I like off of each album, because one thing I've always find kind of interesting is I think my taste in music is fairly diverse, and it's kind of feedback I tend to get a lot from people. But when I'm actually just kind of in my music world and doing my music thing, I oftentimes feel like just the opposite. Like my taste in music is not really diverse. And I kind of get that feeling like everything that I have is stuff that everyone already has, and it's all the common stuff, and it's all the neat things that I don't know about that everyone else has, and I need to kind of discover it or whatever else. So it's just kind of a weird mindset that I kind of go through with that sometimes. But so just so I'm not making assumptions. Next section is the disco section. Yes, I do have a disco section. I love me some disco. I don't care what anybody says. To have been in my mid-20s back in the height of the disco era, oh, would have been awesome. But I'm going with Donna Summer here. And this is Love to Love You, Baby. Man, she's my queen of the disco. I love me some Donna. This is a fantastic album, especially that song. Next section is actually labeled as 70s soft rock, because I love me some 70s soft rock. And so one good representation out of that is Ambrosia. And this is 180. So you can see very kind of interesting pose on the cover there. And of course my favorite song by them is Biggest Part of Me. I mean, that's my jam. I love that song. So in love Ambrosia for sure. And then after that, the next section over there is classic rock. And you know, there's all kinds of stuff with that, between Aerosmith, Rolling Stones, you know, all the stuff that I'm sure a lot of us kind of have. So I just chose as a representation a little Deep Purple in rock. Definitely a good representation of just classic rock right there. And this whole album is, there's not really necessarily one particular song or two songs that stands out on this album. This is one I usually just kind of listen to, you know, just kind of all the way through. It's just, you know, Deep Purple. So, and then the next section is going to be, I have 80s alternative is the next section. And so in that category, you're going to find stuff in my collection like the Jesus and Mary Chain, Psycho Candy, freaking awesome album as well. And again, this is another one I don't have necessarily one favorite song off of. This is just kind of one of those albums that really, just the entire feel of the album from front to back, I just love it. Maybe just like Honey, but it's even then it's kind of hard to say. I just love this album from front to back. So if you listen to one or two songs off of it, you'll get a very good feel for what the entire album's is like. So that's out of the 80s alternative. Then after 80s alternative, I have an 80s new wave section. And most of these sections too are divided into like 80s new wave ladies. You know, it's like a female and male section for a lot of these. But in the 80s new wave, we're going to represent that with Baltimore. This is Living in the Background, and of course, probably the biggest song off of this, you still see the hype stickers in there, it was the song Tarzan Boy, which probably drives a lot of people crazy if you're not a huge 80s fan like that. But I've always loved the song, and I still love it to this day. I still listen to it to this day. So, you know me, I don't shy away from the cheese of anything. But yeah, that's definitely a good representation of some of the new wave type of things that were taking place with 80s music. So that's in my 80s new wave section. The next section is 80s pop and rock. You know, so stuff that's not quite alternative or new wave, but just more of just kind of the rock music that was taking place at that time. So that can be everything from, you know, like Bryan Adams to even like this one here, Eddie Money. So I chose to represent that. Huey Lewis and the News, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, Eddie Money. This is just kind of a greatest hits. And this album from front to back, I mean, if you don't have any other Eddie Money albums, this one album is just a fantastic one to have. You know, Baby Hold On, 2 Tickets to Paradise, I Want to Go Back, Walk on Water, Shake and Take Me Home Tonight. I mean, just I mean, a lot of his just great classic hits on that album. Next section in my collection is 80s guitar rock. So that's going to be more of your Journey, your Autographs, your Gary Moore, as well as who's going to represent them today, is going to be Night Ranger. So that's where you find those in my 80s guitar rock. Y&T is another one you might find in there. Triumph, maybe, things of that nature. But yeah, Night Ranger, another classic group that takes me back to my childhood. This is probably my favorite album by them. Of course, songs like You Can Still Rock in America, Sister Christian, When You Close Your Eyes. Probably still my favorite song because that was the first song that brought me to Night Ranger, was When You Close Your Eyes. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to spin this right after this video because I haven't listened to it in a while. So that's 80s guitar rock. Next, we'll go to country. And I thought about doing, I don't have my country section divided up like this because I don't have that much country yet, not enough to do this, but kind of like, you know, newer country and then old school country. So newer stuff like, you know, Eric Church and stuff like that. But then a lot of my old school stuff I love too. And I chose to represent country this time with Kitty Wells. Kind of really going old school here. And I do love Kitty. I mean, one of the things that just kind of really connects with me on whatever level is like the whole concept behind, you know, down home, down south, farm, family, God-fearing, you know, taking care of ourselves, you know, living type, like all the things that kind of surround that just really, really connect with me. On a pretty deep level. And so a lot of music such as, you know, stuff by Kitty Wells and some of that older country really just kind of takes me to those great places. It's one of the reasons why I love the song Rain on the Scarecrow by John Cougar Mellencamp, or A Small Town by Mellencamp's another great one. It's just when you hear him describing that style of living and just kind of the, you know, whether it's small town or the struggles that's in Scarecrow, just like that, there's something that's very real about that. Just a basic form of connection. But anyway, a whole different video I'm getting into now. But yeah, Kitty Wells is definitely someone that represents a lot of that in her style and just in her music, period. Now, this isn't my favorite album by her. I actually say probably my favorite song by her is Each Day I Cry a Little. I love that song, which is not on this album, but this is still one of her albums that I really like a lot. So that's Kitty Wells. Next, we're going to reggae / world section. And that's where we're going to go with Jimmy Cliff. This is Power and Glory. Now, most people, when you first got into reggae, assuming you're probably not like a, you know, gigantic, deep reggae. I mean, again, I don't even begin to know the deep parts of reggae. I'm definitely more of a surface person with that. But I'm sure a lot of people probably initially came to reggae through Bob Marley, and probably, you know, in all likelihood, through Legend, that album. But this was actually my first introduction really to reggae on any level, was Jimmy Cliff, and specifically this album. Because back in the 80s when I was in grade school, you know, you didn't have the internet and all that kind of stuff, so a lot of the music that you saw, I got to listen to, was on TV. And I just started watching MTV, and I also used to watch Video Soul back then, which played R&B music of that time, which was so freaking awesome, so much better than the crap today. But Jimmy Cliff had two videos that were in pretty regular rotation on a lot of R&B stations, and it was We All Are One and Reggae Night. Those two songs were kind of some decent-sized video hits for him. And so those two songs kind of brought me to Some Things Reggae, and then of course Jimmy Cliff. And later on when I discovered the entire album, I mean, those two songs are great, but also Sunshine in the Music, American Dream, Power and Glory, Piece of the Pie might be my favorite song off of this, but it's really hard to pick. That's just a great album from front to back. Then we go to soundtracks. And of course there's tons of stuff. My favorite typically are the 80s soundtracks. Teen Wolf, Some Kind of Wonderful, Better Off Dead, The Breakfast Club, Heavenly Kid, Back to School, Grease 2. That's my good stuff right there. But I chose to represent it this time with Black Snake Moan. So another really good album. And if you haven't seen the movie too, definitely a good movie to check out. Really good stuff. But one of the things that initially made me want to buy this is not only just that there's some good songs on it, but Samuel Jackson performs a number of songs on this, And the song Allie Mae that he performed, I mean, it's a really good freaking song. And that was actually what made me go seek out this when it first came out. So, good soundtrack there. Next section is going to be synth pop, okay, which is typically more of the 90s, 2000s stuff that falls on much more of that synthy, almost 80-ish type of feel. So that's my synth pop section. And again, synth pop, you're talking about stuff like, I don't know, Tycho, yeah, just mentioned a few different bands, but I'm going to represent them with Wild Nothing because they definitely nail it. I love their sound. I mean, I've loved this band from day one, and they have a number of different albums out. So if you like that old 80s synth pop type of stuff, I mean, if you have not heard of Wild Nothing, make sure you check them out. And this is a great album to start with. Pretty much every song on it is good. It's really good. So that's synth pop. Then post rock. You know, more of your we're not singing, making all kind of weird noises with our guitars and blah blah blah. You know, explosions in the sky, stuff like that. So with synth pop, I'm going to represent that with "This Will Destroy You." Great album, funny looking album cover. I remember when I first got this too, because I heard the CD in a store, and the CD was an all-black cover with like just a gold trim design around it or whatever, and I think it had like their name in the middle. So it was all black, and I was like, is it on vinyl? He's like, yeah, we can order it. So he ordered it, and I came back to pick it up, and like I said, I saw a black solid CD with gold trim, and next thing you know, he's handing me this. I'm like, what the heck is this? Hey, that's not the same album. But sure enough, it was. It was just I didn't know the vinyl cover was different. But yeah, really good stuff. And the way I kind of describe this is Smashing Pumpkins being a little more, I'm not gonna say sludgy, but with no vocals. I mean, it's just kind of, you know. So that's out of my post rock section. Dance and techno. We're gonna go with Stylophonic. Great band I discovered a long time ago at a buckle, no less. This is where I heard a song playing, and it was called Bizarre Mind, actually. That was a song that I heard off of this album, and I was like, dude, I like that stuff. I got to figure out blah, blah, blah. There's a really cool story, too, behind when I bought this album. I'll share that with you sometime when I don't have a video that's already running up to 17 and a half plus minutes. But yeah, Bizarre Mind, definitely the song to check out by them if you want to get a feel for who they are. And then we go to metal, and again, you know, tons of stuff there, Testament, Exodus, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to represent metal today with Machine Head. This is The Blackening. And this is an album that'll knock you on your butt, too. So, again, not much to say about that. My favorite song off of this, I would probably have to say either Halo or Beautiful Morning. Probably one of those two songs would be my favorite off of this album. So another classic there. Now we're going to glam / hair metal. Nothing sums that up better than, I mean, Poison. Come on. Darn near about as glam as you can get. And everyone remembers Look What the Cat Dragged In. Alright, so now we're going to go to kind of 90s alternative. 90s, 2000 alternative. Even though I really do have my 90s and my 2000s just all together right now, but this is really more the alternative, because again, I consider, I consider something like, you know, if I think about 90s and 2000s, again, I'm thinking like The Fray or, you know, Dave Matthews Band. That stuff is 90s, 2000s. This is more 90s, 2000 alternative. So K's Choice, Paradise and Me. Really cool album. One that I was really shocked when I discovered they had pressed it on vinyl. I didn't even know if it was popular enough to put on vinyl, actually, at any point, even in the past. So I was really glad to get this. Favorite song off of this is definitely Not an Addict. I mean, I don't drink, you know, never been drunk, never even had a buzz in my entire life. I've never smoked weed, you know, nothing whatsoever. But if any song type of thing out there was going to be able to get me to do that, Not an Addict would be the song that could push me towards that. it's just something so cool about the way she's singing, about how she's kind of, you know, flowing through whatever it is that she's doing, and just like the feelings that she has, and it's very mellow, and it's very kind of sensual, and it's just a little bit of everything. That song is just really moving. But so yeah, if you never heard of them, make sure you check out Not an Addict. Very, very cool stuff. So that's kind of 90s, 2000 alternative. And now I do have a grunge and hard alternative section. So with the hard alternative, that would be something like Shine Down. You know, and in that hard alternative, we're also going with stuff like Stone Temple Pilots and Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. You know, it's not metal, not just alternative, but to me, it's like it's hard alternative. But anyway, so Shine Down's a good example of that. Us and Them. You know, songs like Heroes, definitely my favorite song off of this album. Off of their other album, whatchamacallit, their cover of Lynyrd Skynyrd's Simple Man's another great song to check out if you're not familiar with Shine Down overall. But yeah, actually going to see them in a few weeks, so that'll be kind of nice. It'll be a fantastic album. And then grunge, of course. Let's just keep it simple. We'll just show some Nirvana there. I mean, grunge is, of course, much easier to clarify. And then I have a hard rock section. Hard rock, we're going with Sammy Hagar, VOA. You know, Can't Drive 55, Rocks in My Blood, Two Sides of Love, Dick in the Dirt, Swept Away is one of my favorite songs off of this. So yeah, so good old Sammy, that's hard rock. Punk. Well, actually punk and hardcore, that's kind of one section. And so let's just go with a classic there, Dead Kennedys. Represents that more than well. Alright. And then you have hip-hop and rap. Two very, very, very different things to me. Very different. Which is why I have hip-hop and rap section. So, in the rap section, we're going to represent them with Fat Boys. And this is self-titled. I think this was their second release. And again, fantastic album, love the band, and probably one of my top 5 favorite rap songs of all time is the title track Fat Boys off of this album. Oh, that song is just everything good about rap music in my mind. Love it, love it, love it. So, that's rap. Hip-hop, another really good one I wanted to pull out was Flavor in Your Ear by Craig Mack. I have a 12-inch single, which is, again, when it comes to hip-hop, a song of perfection. But I decided to go as a full album with Method Man. Alright. And this is methodical. So it's, you know, just, again, and the difference in hip-hop and rap is really kind of the difference in what took place up to, you know, the early years of rap music was rap. You know, your early LL Cool J's, your you know, your Fat Boys, your Curtis Blows, your Run DMCs. Like, that's rap music. And then you kind of had that period going into the late 80s and early 90s where the gangster rap came into play. And then kind of that early 90s into the mid 90s and a little bit on, where you started seeing kind of all these divides in the hip hop world, where you still had the rap thing, but then you also had kind of the Nubian thing, and the more knowledge thing, and the more militant thing, and the more gangster rap thing, and kind of, you know, it was just going all these different directions. And so I think one of the things that came out of that, in my mind, was a path of hip hop too, because all rap is not hip hop. And I think Method Man and kind of the Wu-Tang Clan in general, that's hip-hop music to me. Matter of fact, I think one thing about the Wu-Tang Clan is that they do such a good job of taking the rap elements, the hip-hop elements, and even some of the gangster rap elements, and really mixing it together to make something that is a great representation of all. But again, getting into another video there. Almost done here. Classical, another section here. So we're going to go with kind of my favorite piece, which is Carl Orff's Karina Burana. This is from the Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Orchestra. Eugene Ormandy there. And again, this my favorite classical piece, and if I whatever different versions I can find with different symphonies and everything else, I buy it all the time. I guess the Rutgers University Choir is the other thing to kind of note on there. So just love that piece, and it's probably one of the ones that people have heard more often. They just don't know it by name, but it's just such a big, grand piece. Jazz vocal. I have. Oh, and I didn't pull one for smooth jazz, although I would pull Kenny G or Rick Braun. That's who I would pull for that. But just kind of vocal jazz. In that section, we'll go with Diana Krall. And there's so much stuff by her that I love. But Peel Me a Grape. It's not on this album, but that's probably my favorite song by her. So that's the one I would recommend checking out if you want to get a little bit of a feel for what Diana's like. Blues. Black Magic Sam, or Black Magic by Magic Sam Blues Band. Definitely one of my favorite blues albums, especially the song What Have I Done Wrong? Blues perfection, boy. Never get tired of listening to that song. 90s/2000s R&B. I think R. Kelly's a great representation of that. So again, that's pretty self-explanatory. 80s R&B, a lot of great stuff in there. That's kind of my stuff. But I'm going to go with Ready for the World, one of my favorite bands, one of my favorite albums from the 80s R&B time frame. A lot of people probably know this band by the song Oh Sheila, but Tonight, Digital Display, Deep Inside Your Love, I mean, just slide over. This album was the jam. Even if they did have Jerry curls. Then the last two sections, funk. I do have a funk section. BTO Express. Do It Till You're Satisfied. Song tells you all you need to know. And it's definitely one of the, just perfect funk songs of all time. So if you're not familiar with them, make sure you go check out that song off of this album. And last but not least, 60s, 70s R&B. Let's just go ahead and go with my man Isaac. Isaac Hayes. Hot Buttered Soul. Just Isaac doing his funky soul brother thing. And the funny thing is, too, if you haven't heard this album, if you're a big hip-hop fan, you listen to this album, I guarantee you'll be able to write down 20 or 25 rap/hip-hop songs that were sampled directly from this album. I mean, from DJ Quick to Public Enemy to LL Cool J. I mean, it's like all over the place. This album got sampled to no end. So great, great stuff. All right, so let me shut up. It's been 28 minutes. But yeah, that was fun just kind of going through and pulling that stuff out. And again, Andrew, man, congratulations on the 1,000 subs. And as always, VC, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. And we will talk to you soon.